Welcome to my channel. Hello guys, I'm Screen Recorder, and today we will be doing Storytelling the Life and Adventures of Santa Claus Part 4. One day, as Claus sat before his door to enjoy the sunshine while he busily carved the head and horns of a toy deer, he looked up and discovered a glittering cavalcade of horsemen approaching through the valley. When they drew nearer, he saw that the band consisted of a score of men-at-arms clad in bright armor and bearing in their hands spears and battle axes. In front of this rode little Bessie Blithesome, the pretty daughter of that proud Lord of Lud who had once driven Claus from his palace. Her palfrey was pure white, its bridle was covered with glittering gems, and his sandal draped with cloth of gold richly broidered. The soldiers were sent to protect her from harm while she journeyed. Claus was surprised, but he continued to whistle and to sing until the cavalcade drew up before him. Then the little girl leaned over the neck of her palfrey and said, "Please, Mr. Claus, I want a toy." Her voice was so pleading that Claus jumped up at once and stood beside her, but he was puzzled how to answer her request. "You are a rich lord's daughter," said he, "and have all that you desire." "Except toys," added Bessie. "There are no toys in all the world but yours, and I make them for the poor children, who have nothing else to amuse them," continued Claus. "Do poor children love to play with toys more than rich ones?" asked Bessie. "I suppose not," said Claus thoughtfully. "Am I to blame because my father is a lord? Must I be denied that pretty toys I long for because other children are poorer than I?" she inquired earnestly. "I'm afraid you must, dear," he answered, "for the poor have nothing else with to wish to amuse themselves. You have your pony to ride, your servants to wait on you, and every comfort that money can procure." "But I want toys!" cried Bessie, wiping away the tears that forced themselves into her eyes. "If I cannot have them, I shall be very unhappy." Claus was troubled, for her grief recalled to him the thoughts that his desire to make all children happy without regard to their condition in life. Yet, while so many poor children were clamoring for his toys, he could not bear to give one to them, to Bessie Blossom, who had so much already to make her happy. "Listen, my child," said he gently. "All the toys I am now making are promised to others, but the next shall be yours. Since your heart so longs for it, come to me again in 2 days, and it shall be ready for you." Bessie gave a cry of delight, and leaning over her pony's neck, she kissed Claus prettily upon his forehead. Then, calling to her men-at-arms, she rode gaily away, leaving Claus to resume his work. "If I am to supply the rich children as well as the poor ones," he thought, "I shall not have a spare moment in the whole year. But is it right I should give to the rich? Surely I must go to the seal to talk with her about this matter." So when he had finished the toy deer, which was very like a deer he had known in the forest glades, he walked into a bazaar and made his way to the bower of the beautiful nymph Nacelle, who had been his foster mother. She greeted him tenderly and lovingly, listening with interest to his story of the visit of Bessie Blossom. "And now tell me," said he, "shall I give toys to rich children?" "We of the forest know nothing of riches," she replied. "It seems to me that one child is like another child, since they are all made of the same clay, and that riches are like a gown, which may be put on or taken away, leaving the child unchanged. But the fairies are guardians of mankind, and know mortal children better than I. Let us call the fairy queen." This was done, and the queen of the fairies sat beside them, and heard Claus relate his reason for thinking the rich children could get along without his toys, and also what the nymphs had said. "The seal is right," declared the queen, "for whether it be rich or poor, a child's longings for pretty playthings are but natural. Rich Bessie's heart may suffer as much grief as poor Mary's. She can be just as lonely and discontented, and just as gay as happy. I think, friend Claus, it is your duty to make all little ones glad, whether they chance to live in palaces or in cottages. Your words are wise, fair queen, replied Claus, and my heart tells me that they are just as they are wise. Here, after all children may claim my services. Then he bowed before the gracious fairy, and kissing the seal's red lips, went back into his valley. At the brook, he stopped to drink, and afterward he sat on the bank and took a piece of moist clay in his hands while he thought what sort of toy he should make for Bessie Blithesome. He did not notice that his fingers were working the clay into shape until, glancing downward, he found he had unconsciously formed a head that bore a slight resemblance to the nymph Nacelle. At once, he became interested. Gathering more of the clay from the bank, he carried it to his house. Then, with the aid of his knife and a bit of wood, he succeeded in working the clay into the image of a toy nymph. With skillful strokes, he formed long waving hair on the head and covered the body with a gown of oak leaf, where the 2 feet sticking out at the bottom of the gown were clad in sandals. But the clay was soft, and Claus found he must handle it gently to avoid ruining his pretty work. Perhaps the rays of the sun will draw out the moisture and cause the clay to become hard, he thought, so he laid the image on a flat board and placed it in a glare of the sun. This done, he went to his bench and began painting to the toy deer, and soon he became so interested in the work that he forgot all about the clay nymph. But next morning, happening to notice it as it lay on the board, he found the sun had baked it into the hardness of stone, and it was strong enough to be safely handled. Claus now painted nymph with great care in likeness of Nacelle, giving it deep blue eyes, white teeth, rosy lips, ruddy brown hair. The gown he colored oak leaf green, and when the paint was dry, Claus himself was charmed with the new toy. Of course, it's not nearly so lovely as the real Nacelle, but considering the material of which it was made, Claus thought it was very beautiful. When Bessie, riding upon her white palfrey, came to his dwelling next day, Claus presented her with the new toy. The little girl's eyes were brighter than ever as she examined the pretty image, and she loved it at once, and held it close to her breast as a mother does to her child. What is it called, Claus? Now, Claus knew that nymphs do not like to be spoken by the mortals, so he could not tell Bessie it was an image of Nacelle he had given her. But as it was a new toy, he just in his mind for a new name to call it by, and the first way he thought of decided would do very well. It is called a dolly, my dear, he said to Bessie. I shall call the dolly my baby, returned Bessie, kissing it fondly, and I shall tend it and care for it just as nurse cares for me. Thank you very much, Claus. Your gift has made me happier than I have ever been before. Then she rode away, hugging the toy in her arms, and Claus, seeing her delight, thought him would make another dolly better and more natural than the first. He brought more clay from the brook, and remembering that Bessie has called the dolly her baby, he resolved to form this one into a baby's image. That was no difficult task to the clever workman, and soon the baby dolly was laying on the board and placed in the sun to dry. Then, with the clay that was left, He began to make an image of Bessie Blossom herself. This was not so easy, for he found he could not make the silken robe of the lost daughter out of the common clay. So he called the fairies to his aid and asking them to bring the colored silk with which to make a real dress for the clay image. The fairies set off at once on their errands, and before nightfall they returned with a generous supply of silks and laces and golden threads. Claus now became impatient to complete his new dolly, and instead of waiting for the next day's sun, he placed the clay image upon his hearth and covered it over a gloomy coal. By morning, when he drew the dolly from the ashes, it had baked as hard as it had lain a full day in the hot sun. Now our Claus became a dressmaker as well as a toy maker. He cut the lavender silk and nearly sewed it into a beautiful gown and just fitted the new dolly, and he put a lace collar around his neck and pink silk shoes on its feet. The natural color of baked clay is a light grey, but Claus painted the face to resemble the color of flesh, and he gave the dolly Bessie's brown eyes and golden hair and rosy cheeks. It was really a beautiful thing to look upon and sure to bring joy to some child's heart. While Claus was admiring it, he heard a knock at his door. The little Mary entered. Her face was sad and her eyes red with continued weeping. What has grieved you, my dear? Asked Claus, taking the child in his arm. I've broken my head, spoke Mary. How? He inquired, his eyes twinkling. I broke him, and broke off his tail, and then I broke him and broke off his ears. And now him's all spoils. Claus laughed. Never mind, Mary dear, he said. How would you like this new dolly instead of a cat? Mary looked at the silk-robed dolly, and her eyes grew big with astonishment. Oh, Claus, she cried, clapping her small hands together with rapture. Then I have a bookful, lady. Do you like it? He asked. I love it, said he. It's better and ends. Then take it, dear, and be careful not to break it. And Mary took the dolly with a joy that was almost reverence, and her face dimpled with smiles as she started along the path toward home. I must now tell you something that the Ogwes, that terrible race of creatures which caused our good Claus so much trouble and nearly succeeded in robbing the children of the world of their earliest and best friend. I do not like to mention the Ogwes, but they are a part of this history and cannot be ignored. They were neither mortals nor immortals, but stood midway between those classes of beings. The Ogwes were invincible to ordinary people, but not to immortals. They could pass swiftly through the air from one part of the world to another, and had the power of influencing the minds of human beings to do their wicked will. They were of gigantic stature and had coarse, scowling countenances which showed plainly their hatred of all mankind. They possessed no consciences whatever and delighted only in evil deeds. Their homes were in rocky, mountainous places, from whence they sailed forth to accomplish their wicked purposes. The one of their number that could think of the most horrible deed for them to do was always elected the King Ogwe, and all the rest obey his orders. Sometimes these creatures lived to become 100 years old, but usually they fought so fiercely among themselves that many were destroyed in combat, and when they died, that was the end of them. Mortals were powerless to harm them, and the immortals shuddered when the Ogwes were mentioned, and always avoided them, so they flourished so many years and unsupposed, and accomplished much evil. I am glad to assure you that these vile creatures had long since perished and passed from earth, but in these days, when Claus was making his first toy, they were a numerous and powerful tribe. One of the principal sports of the Ogwes was to inspire angry passion in the heart of little children, so that they quarrel and fought with one another. They would tempt boys to eat of unripe fruit, and then delight in the pain they suffer. They urged little girls to disobey their parents, and then would laugh when the children were punished. I don't know what causes a child to be naughty in these days, but when the orcs were on Earth, naughty children were usually under their influence. Now, when Claus began to make children happy, he keeps them out of the power of the orcs. For children possessed such lovely playthings as he gave them had no wish to obey the evil thoughts the ogres tried to thrust into their minds. Therefore, one year when the wicked tribe was to elect a new king, they chose an ogre to propose to destroy Claus and take him away from the children. There are, as you know, fewer naughty children in the world since Claus came to the Laughing Valley and began to make his choice. Said the new king, as he squatted upon a rock and looked around at the scowling faces of his people. Why, Basil Blossom has not stamped her foot once this month, nor has Mary's brother slapped his sister's face and thrown the puppy into the rain barrel. Little Wickham took his bath last night without screaming or struggling because his mother has promised he should take his toy cat to bed with him. Such a condition of affair is awful for any ogre to think of, and the only way we can direct the naughty action of children is to take this person Claus away from them. Good, good, cried the big ogres in chorus, and they clapped their hands. They applauded the speech of the king. But what shall we do with him? Asked one of the creatures. I have a plan, replied the wicked king, and what his plan was you will soon discover. That night, Claus went to bed feeling very happy, for he had completed no less than 4 pretty toys during the day, and they were sure he was to make 4 little children happy. But while he slept, the band of invincible ogres surrounded his bed, bound him with stout cords, and then flew away with him to the middle of dark forest in far off Italy, where they laid him down and left him. When morning came, Claus found himself thousands of miles from any human being, a prisoner in the wild jungle of an unknown land. From the limb of a tree above his head swung a huge python, one of those reptiles that are able to crush a man's bones in their coils. A few yards away crouched a savage panther, its glaring red eyes fixed full on the helpless Claus, one of those monstrous spotted spiders whose sting is death, crept stealthily toward him on the metal leaf, which scribbled and turned black at its very touch. But Claus has been reared in busy and was not afraid. Come to me, ye nooks of the forest, he cried and gave the low, peculiar whistle that the nooks know. The panther, which was about to spring upon its victim, turned to and slunk away. The python swung itself into the tree and disappeared among the tree leaves. The spider stopped short in its advance and hid beneath a rotting log. Claus had no time to notice them, for he was surrounded by a band of harsh-featured nooks, more crooked and deformed in appearance than any he had ever seen. Who are you that call on us? Demanded one in a gruff voice. The friend of your brothers in mercy, answered Claus. I have been brought here by my enemies the orcs and left to perish miserably. Yet now I implore your help to release me and to send me home again. Have you the sign? Asked another. Yes, said Claus. They cut his bonds, and with his free arms he made the secret sign of the nooks. Instantly they assisted him to stand upon his feet, and they brought him food and drink to strengthen him. One brothers of Burzy made queer friends, Grumbler, and ancient nooks whose flowing beard was pure white. But he who knows our secret sign and signal is entitled to our help, whoever he may be. Close your eyes, stranger, and we will conduct you to your home. Where shall we seek it? This, in the Laughing Valley, answered Claus, shutting his eyes. There is but one Laughing Valley in the known world, so we cannot go astray, remarked the Nook. As he spoke, the sound of his voice seemed to die away, so Claus opened his eye to see what caused the change. To his astonishment, he found himself seated on a bench by his own door. With the Laughing Valley spread out before him, that day he visited the wood nymphs and related his adventure to Queens Zuri and the Seal. The ogres have become your enemies, said the lovely queen truthfully, so we must do, or we can protect you from their power. It was cowardly to bind him while he slept, remarked the Seal with indignation. The evil ones are ever cowardly, answered Zuri, but our friend's slumber shall not be disturbed again. The queen herself came to the dwelling of Claus that evening and placed a seal on every door and window to keep out the ogres. And under the seal of Queen Zuri was placed the seal of the fairies, and the seal of Riots, and the seals of Nooks, and that the charms might become more powerful. And Claus carried his toys to the children again, and made many more of the little ones happy. You may guess how angry the king's ogre and his fierce band were when it was known to them that Claus had escaped from the forest of Ito. They raged madly for a whole week, and then held another meeting among the rocks. It is useless to carry him where the Nooks reign, said the king, for he has their protection. So let's cast him into a cave of our own mountains, where he will surely perish. This was promptly agreed to, and the wicked band set out the knights to seize Claus. But they found his dwelling guarded by the seals of immortals, and were obliged to go away baffled and disappointed. Never mind the king, he doesn't sleep always. Next day, as Claus travelled to the village across the plain where he intended to present a toy squirrel to a lame boy, he was suddenly set upon the ogres, who seized him and carried him away to the mountains. There they thrust him within a deep cavern and rolled many huge rocks against the entrance to prevent his escape. Despite task of light and food, and with little air to breathe, our Claus was indeed in a pitiful plight. But he spoke the mystic words of the fairies, which always command their friendly aid, and they came to his rescue and transported him to the Laughing Valley in a twinkling of an eye. Thus the ogres discovered that might not destroy one of had earned the friendship of the immortals, so the evil band sought another means of keeping Claus from being happiness to children, and so making them obedience. Whenever Claus set out to carry his toys to the little ones, an ogre who had been set to watch his movement sprang upon him and snatched the toys from his grasp, and the children were no more disappointed than was Claus when he was obliged to return home disconsolate. Still he persevered and made many toys for his little friends and started with them for the villages, and always the ogres rooked him as soon as he left the valley. They threw the stolen playthings into one of their lovely caverns, and quite a heap of toys accumulated before Claus became discouraged and gave up all attempts to leave the valley. Then children began coming to him, since they found he did not go to them, but the wicked ogres flew around them and caused their steps to stray and the path become crooked, so never a little one could find a way into the Laughing Valley. Lonely days now fell upon Claus, for he was denied the pleasure of bringing happiness to the children whom he had learned to love. Yet he bore up bravely, for he thought surely the time would come when the ogres was abandoned their evil desire to injure him. He devoted all his hours of toy making, and making one plaything had been completed, he stood it on a shelf he had built for that purpose. When the shelf became filled with rows of toys, he made one another and filled that also, so that in time he had many shelves filled with gay and beautiful toys representing horses, dogs, cats, elephants, lambs, rabbits, and deer, as well as the pretty dolls of all sizes of balls and marbles baked clay painted in gay colors. Often as he gazed at his array of childish treasures, the heart of good old Claus became sad, so greatly did he long to carry the toys to his children, and at last, because he could bear it no longer, he ventured to go to the great hag, to whom he told the story of his persecution by the ogres, and begged the master woodsman to assist him. Ang listened gravely to the Reciter of Claus, stroking his beard, the while with the slow, graceful motion that betokened deep thoughts. He nodded approvingly when Claus told how the Nooks and the fairies had saved him from death, and frowned when he heard how the Ogres had stolen the children's toys. At last he said, "From the beginning I have opposed the work you are doing among the children of men, and it annoys me when your good deeds should be thwarted by the Ogres. We immortals have no connection whatever with the evil creatures who have attacked you. Always have we avoided them, and they in turn have hitherto taken care not to cross our pathway. But in this matter I find they have interfered with one of our friends, and I will ask them to abandon their persecutions, as you are under our protection." Claus thanked the Master Woodsman most gratefully and returned to his valley, where Egg, who never delayed carrying out his promises, at once travelled to the mountains of the Ogres. There, standing the bare rocks, he called on the king and the people to appear. Instantly the place was filled with thrones of the surrounding Ogres, and their king, perching himself on the point of a rock, demanded fiercely, "Who dares call on us?" "It is I, the Master Woodsman of the world," responded Egg. "Here are no forests for you to claim," cried the Woodsman angrily. "We owe no allegiance to you nor to any immortals." "That is true," replied X calmly, "yet you have ventured to interfere with the action of the Claus, who dwells in the Laughing Valley and is under our protection." Many of the officers began murmuring at this speech, and the king turned threateningly on the Master Woodsman. You are set to rule the forest, but the plants and the valleys are ours," he shouted. "Keep to your own dark woods. We will do as we please with Claus. You shall not harm our friends in any way," replied X. "Shall we not?" asked the king impudently. "You will see our powers are vastly superior to those mortals, and fully as great as those immortals." "Is your conceit that misleading you?" asked X sternly. "You are a transient race, passing from life into nothingness. We live forever, pity, but despise you. On earth you are scorned by all. In heaven you have no place. Even the mortals after their earth life enter another existence for all time, and so you are your superiors. And how then dare you, who are neither mortal nor immortal, refuse to obey my wish?" The Ogres sprang to their feet with menacing gesture, but their king motioned them back. "Never before," he cried to Egg, where his voice trembled with rage, "has an immortal declared himself the master of the Ogres. Never shall an immortal venture to interfere with our action again, for we will avenge your scornful words by killing your friends close within 3 days. Nor you nor all the immortals can save him from our wrath. We defy your powers. Begone, Master Woodsman of the world. In the country of the Ogres you have no place." "It is war," declared Egg with flashing eyes. "It is war," returned the king severely. "In 3 days your friend will be dead." The master turned away and came to his swallow busy, where he called a meeting of the immortals and told them of the defiance of the Ogres and their purpose to kill Claus within 3 days. The little fox listened to him quietly. "What shall we do?" asked Egg. "These creatures are of no benefit to the world," said the prince of the Nooks. We must destroy them." "Their lives are devoted only to evil deeds," said the prince of Riots. "We must destroy them. They have no conscience and endeavor to make all mortals as bad as themselves," said the queens of the fairies. We must destroy them. "They have defied the great act and threatened the life of our adopted son," said beautiful Queen Zee. "We must destroy them." The Master Woodsman smiled. "You speak well," said he. "These Ogres we know to be a powerful race, and they will fight desperately. Yet the outcome is certain, for we live can never die, even though conquered by our enemies. Well, every Ogre who is struck down is one foe the less to oppose us. Prepare then for battle, and let us resolve to show no mercy to the wicked." Thus arose the terrible war between the immortals and the spirit of the worlds, which is sung of in fairyland to this very day. The king awoke, and his band, determined to carry out the threat to destroy Claus, did not hate him for 2 reasons. He made children happy and was to a friend of the Master Woodsman. But since X visited, they had reason to fear the opposition of the immortals, and they dreaded defeat. So the king sent swift messengers to all parts of the world to summon every evil creature to his aid. And on the third day after the declaration of war, a mighty army was at the command of the king of war. There were 300 Asiatic dragons breathing fires, consuming everything it touched. These hated mankind of all good spirits, and they were the three-eyed giants of Tatary, a host in themselves who liked nothing better than to fight. And next came a black demons of Catalonia, with great spreading wings like those of a bat, which swept terror and misery through the world as they beat upon the air. And joined to these were the goozy goblins, with long talons as sharp as swords, with which they clawed the flesh from their foes. Finally, every mountain over in the world had come to participate in a great battle with the immortals. The king looked around upon this vast army with his heart beat high with wicked pride, for he believed he would surely triumph over his gentle enemies, who had never before been known to fight. But the master woodsman had not been either. None of his men was used to warfare, yet now that they were called upon to face the host of evil, they willingly prepared for the fray. X has commanded them to assemble in the Laughing Valley, where Claus, ignorance of the terrible battles that was to wage of in his account, was quietly making his toy. Soon the entire valley, from hill to hill, was filled with the immortals. The master woodsman stood first, bearing a grim Ming axe that stood like burnished silver. Next came the Rias, armed with sharp stones from bramble bushes. Then the Nooks, bearing the spears that used when they are forced to probe their savage beasts into submission. The fairies, then in white gills, which rainbow-hued wings bore golden wings, and the wood nymphs, with their uniform olive green, carry scissors for ash trees as weapon. Loud laughing the old king when he beheld the size of the arms of his foe. To be sure, the mighty axe of the woodsman was to be dreaded, but the sweet-faced nymphs and pretty fairies, the gentle Rias and crooked Nooks, were such harmless folk that he almost felt ashamed at having caused such a terrible host to oppose them. Seeing these fools dare to fight, he said to the leader of the Tatary giants, I will overwhelm them with our evil powers. To begin the battle, he poised a great stone in his left hand and cast it to full against the sturdy form of the master woodsman, who turned it aside with his axe. Then rushed the three-eyed giants Tatary upon the Nooks, and the goozy goblin upon the Rias, and the fire-breathing dragons upon the sweet fairies. Because the nymphs were X's own people, the bands of ogres shoot them all out, thinking to overcome them with ease. But it is the law that while evil unopposed may accomplish terrible deeds, the powers of good can never overthrow when opposed to evil. Well had it been for the king over he known the law. His ignorance cost him his assistance, for one flash of the ox borne by the master woodsman of the world clashed the wicked king in twain and rid the earth of the vilest creature it contained. Greatly marveled the Tatary giants when the spears of the little spears their thick walls of flesh and sent them reeling to the ground with howls of agony. Woe came upon the sharp-taloned goblins when the taunts of Rias reached their saviours' hearts and let their fresh blood sprinkle all the plain, and afterward from every drop a thistle grew. The dragon paused astonished before the fairy whence, from whence rushed a power that caused their fiery breath to flow back on themselves, so that they shrivelled away and died. As for the outwards, they had since time to realize how they were destroyed, for the aged switches of the nymphs bore a charm unknown to any ogre, and turned their foes into clothes of earth at the slightest touch. When Egg leaned upon his gleaming axe and turned to look over the field of battle, he saw that the giants who were able to run disappearing over the distant hills on their return to Tatary, the goblins had perished every one, as had the terrible dragons, where all the remain of the wicked augurs was a great number of often hillocks dotting the plain. And now the immortals melted from the very light drew like sunrise to resume their duties in the forest, while Egg walked slowly and thoughtfully to the house and Claus entered. "You have many toys ready for the children," said the woodsman, "and now you may carry them across the plain to the dwelling and the villages without fear. Will not the augurs harm me?" asked Claus eagerly. The augurs said no, have perished. Now I have gladly have done with the wicked spirit and with fighting bloodshed. It was not from choice that I told of the augurs and their aliens, and of their great battle with the immortals. They were part of this history and could not be avoided. Those were happy days for Claus when he carried his accumulation of toys to the children who had awaited them so long. During his imprisonment in the valley, he had been so industrious that all his shelves were filled with paintings. And after quickly supplying the little ones living near by he saw he must now extend his travels to the wider fields. Remembering the time when he had journeyed with Egg through all the world, he knew children were everywhere, and he longed to make as many as possible happy with his gift. So he loaded a great sack with all kinds of toys, slung it upon his back that he might carry it more easily, and started off on a longer trip than he had yet undertaken. Wherever he showed his merry face, in hamlet or in farmhouse, he received a cordial welcome, for his fame had spread into far lands, and each village the children swarmed about him, following his footsteps wherever he went, and the woman thanked him gracefully for the joy he brought their little ones, and the man looked up upon his curiosity that he could devote his time to such a queer occupation as toy making. But everyone smiled on him and gave him kindly words, and Claus felt amply repaid for his long journey. When the sack was empty, he went back again to the Laughing Valley and once more filled it to the brim. This time he followed another route into a different part of the country. He carried happiness to many children who never had owned a toy or guessed that such a delightful plaything existed. After a third journey so far away that Claus was many days walking in the distance, the store of toys became exhausted, and without delay he set about making a fresh supply. From seeing so many children studying their taste, he had acquired several new ideas about toys. The dollies were, he had found, the most delightful of all playthings for babies and little girls, and often those who could not say dolly would call for a doll in their sweet baby talk. So Claus resolved to make many dolls of all sizes and to dress them in bright colored clothing. The older boys and even some of the girls loved the images of animals, so he had still made cats and elephants and horses, and many of the little fellows had musical natures, had longed for drums and cymbals, and whistles and horns, so he made a number of toy drums and tiny sticks to beat them with, and he makes whistles from the willow trees and horns from the bongrees and cymbals from the bits of beaten metal. But this kept him busily at work, and before he realized it was the winter season came, with deeper snows than usual, and he knew he could not leave the valley with his heavy pack. Moreover, the next trip would take him farther from home than ever before, and Jack Frost was mischievous enough to nip his nose and ears if he undertook the long journey while the Frostkin reigned. The Frostkin was Jack's father and never reproved him for his pranks, so Claus remained at his workbench, but he whistled and sang as merrily as ever, for he would allow no disappointment to sour his temper or make him unhappy. One bright morning he looked from his window and saw two of the deer he had known in the forest walking towards his house. Claus was surprised not that the friendly deer should visit him, but that they walked on the surface of the stone as easily as it was solid ground. Notwithstanding the fact that throughout the valley the snow lay many feet deep, he had walked out of his house a day or two before and had sunk to his armpit in a drift. So when the deer came near, he opened the door and called them. "Good morning, Frozy. Tell me how you are able to walk in the snow so easily." "It is frozen hard," answered Frozy. "The Frost King has breath on it," said Glozy, coming up, "and the surface is now as solid as ice." "Perhaps," remarked Claus thoughtfully, "I might now carry my packs of toys to the children." "Is it a long journey?" asked Flossie. "Yes, it will take me many days, for the pack is heavy," answered Claus. "Then the snow would melt before you come back," said the deer. "You must wait until spring." Claus sighed. "Had I your fleet feet," said he, "I could make the journey in a day." "But you have not," returned Glozy, looking at his own slender legs with pride. "Perhaps I could ride upon your back." "Perhaps I could ride upon your back," Claus ventured to remark. After a pause, "Oh no, our backs are not strong enough to bear your weight," said Frozy decidedly. "But if you had a strap and could harness us to it, we might draw you easily, and your pack as well." "I'll make a slack," exclaimed Claus. "Will you agree to draw me if I do?" "Well," replied Frozy, We must first go and ask the Nooks, who are our guardians, for permission. But if they consent, and you can make a stack and harness, we will gladly assist you." "Then go at once," cried Claus eagerly. "I am sure the friendly Nooks will give their consent, and by the time you are back, I shall be ready to harness you to my slacks." Flossie and Glozy, being deer of much intelligence and long wished to see the great world, so gladly they ran over the Flossie nose to ask the Nooks if they might carry Claus on his journey. Meantime, the toy maker hurriedly began the construction of his tracks. Using material from his wood pile, he made two long runners that turned upward at the ends, and across these new short boards to make a platform. It was soon completed, but was a road as imperious as it's possible for a tracks to be. The harness was more beautiful to prepare, but Claus twisted strong cords together and knotted them so that they would fit around the necks of the deer in the shape of a collar. From these ran other cords to fasten the deer to the front of the tracks. Before the work was completed, Glozy and Flossie were back from the forest, having been granted permission by the Will Nooks to make his journey with the clocks, provided they would too busy by daybreak the next morning. "That is not a very long time," said Glozy, "but we are swift and strong, and if we get started by this evening, we can travel many miles during the night." Claus delighted to make the attempt, so he hurried on his preparation as fast as possible. After the time, he fastened the collars around the necks of his sticks and hastened them into the root slack. Then he placed a stool on a little platform to serve as a seat and filled a stack with his prettiest toys. "How do you intend to guide us?" asked Glozy. "We have never been out of the forest before, except to visit your house. So we shall not know the way." Claus tossed about that for a moment, then he brought more cords and fastened two of them to the spreading udders of his deers, one on the right and the other one on the left. "Those will be my reins," said Claus. "And when I pull them to the right or to the left, you must go in that direction. If I do not pull the reins at all, you may go straight ahead." "Very well," answered Glozy and Flossie, and then they asked, "Are you ready?" Claus seated himself upon a stool, placed a stack of toys at his feet, and then gathered up the reins. "All ready," he shouted. "Away we go." The deer ran forward, lifted their slender limbs, and the next moment away flew the sands over the frozen snow. The swiftness of the motion surprised Claus, for in a few strides they were across the valley and gliding over the broad plain beyond. The day had melted into evening, and by the time they started, for swiftly as Claus had worked, many hours had been consumed in making his preparation, but the moon shone brightly to light their way, and Claus soon realized that it was as pleasant to travel by night as by day. The deer liked it better, for although they wished to see something of the world, they were timid about meeting men, and now all the dwellings in the towns and farmhouses were sound asleep and could not see them. Away and away they sped on and on over the hills and through the valleys and across the plains until they reached a village where Claus had never been before. Here he called on them to stop, and they immediately obeyed. But a new difficulty now presented itself, for the people had locked their doors when they went to bed, and Claus found he could not enter the houses to his toys. "I am afraid, my friend, we have made our journey for nothing," said he, for I shall be obliged to carry my playthings back home again without giving them the children of this village." "What's the matter?" asked Flossie. "The doors are locked," answered Claus, "and I cannot get in." Flossie looked around at the house. The snow was quite deep in that village, and just before them was a roof only a few feet above the slab. A broad chimney which seemed to Flossie big enough to admit Claus was at the peak of the roof. "Why don't you climb down that chimney?" asked Flossie. Claus looked at it. "That would be easy enough if I were on the top of the roof." "Then hold fast, and we'll take you there," said the deer. And they gave one bow to the roof and landed beside the big chimney. "Good!" cried Claus, well pleased, and he slung the pack of the toys over his shoulder and get into the chimney. There was plenty of stones on the bricks, but he did not mind that, and by placing his hands and knees against the sides, he crept downward until he had reached the fireplace. Leaping lightly over the smouldering coals, he found himself in a large sitting room where a dim light was burning. From this room, two doorways led into a smaller chamber. In a woman lay asleep with babies beside her in a crib. Claus laughed, but he did not laugh aloud for fear for waking the baby. Then he slipped a big doll from his pack and lay in the crib. The little one smiled as if it dreamed of pretty plaything it was to find on the morrow. And Claus crept softly from the room and entered at the other doorway. Here were two boys fast asleep with their arms around each other's necks. Claus gazed at them lovingly a moment and then placed upon the bed a drum, two horns, and a wooden elephant. He did not linger. Now that his work in this house was done, he must climb the chimney again and seated himself on his sled. "Can you find another chimney?" he asked the reindeer. "Easily enough," replied Flossie and Flossie. Down to the edge of the roof they raced, and then, without pausing, leaped through the air to the top of the next building, where a huge old-fashioned chimney stood. "Do me so long this time," called Flossie, "or we shall never get back to the forest by daybreak." Claus made a trip down this chimney also, and found 5 children sleeping in the house, all of whom were quickly supplied with toys. When he returned, the deer sprang to the next roof, but on descending the chimney, Claus found no children there at all. That was not often the case in this village, however, so he lost less time than you might suppose in visiting the dairy homes where there were no little ones. When he had climbed down the chimneys of all the houses in the village and had left a toy for every sleeping child, Claus found that his great sack was not yet half empty. "Onward, friends," he called to the deer. "We must seek another village." So away they dashed, although it was long past midnight, and in a surprisingly short time they came to a large city, the largest Claus had ever visited since he began to make toys. But nothing doubted by the throng of houses, he set to work at once, and his beautiful sticks carried him rapidly from one roof to another, only the highest being beyond the lips of the agile deer. At last the supply of toys was exhausted, and Claus seated himself in the sled with the empty sack at his feet and turned the heads of Flossie and Flossie toward home. Presently Flossie asked, "What is the great streak? What is the great streak in the sky?" "It is the coming dawn of the day," answered Claus, surprising to find that it was so late. "Good gracious!" exclaimed Flossie, "then we shall not be home by daybreak, and the Nooks will punish us and never let us come again." "We must race for the Laughing Valley and make our best speed," returned Flossie. "So hold fast, friend Claus." Claus held fast, and the next moment was flying so swiftly over the snow that he could not see the trees as they wheeled past. Up hill and down dale, swift as an arrow shot from a bow, they dashed, and Claus shut his eyes to keep the wind out of them and left the deer to find their own way. It seemed to him they were plunging through space, but he was not at all afraid. The Nooks were serval master and must be obeyed at all hasten, and the grey streak in the sky was growing brighter every moment. Finally, the Shrek came to a sudden stop, and Claus, who was taken unawares, tumbled from his seat into a snowdrift. As he picked himself up, he heard the deer crying, "Quick, friend, quick! Cut away our harness." He drew his knife, rapidly surveyed the cord, and then he wiped the moisture from his eyes and looked around him. The Shrek had come to a stop in the laughing valley. Only a few feet he found from his own door. In the east of the day, he was baking, and turning to the edge of the busy, he saw Rosie and Frozy just disappearing in the forest. This is the end of storytelling, the life and adventures of Santa Claus Part 4. Last but not least, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my video, share my video, and comment below for anything you would like to tell me or any story you would like to see on my next video. Just comment below. So we'll see you on the next video. Bye!